Good morning. I've got my iPhone here attached to my dash in the truck on the way to work. Always multitasking, I guess. I wanted to share a video that will be linked to a LinkedIn post. I started blogging last week on LinkedIn as I got an invite to publish. Sure enough, knowing me, I thought it was all special. Wow, they must love the content I'm sharing, like my connections, and LinkedIn has handpicked me to publish. And sure enough, I looked online and Googled it, and boy, LinkedIn handpicked millions and millions and millions of people, i.e. anybody who's a LinkedIn member, to publish. Regardless, I loved it. It was a good first experience. Seemed to get quite a few views and shares, which was great. So I figured I'd combine my love for vlogs to a LinkedIn blog. So the blog this week is going to be very high level about coaching, and I thought I would do the same for a video to extend a little further into some tips and tricks and what I've used. You know, I've had the ability to go from a stockroom shoe shifter and t-shirt folder at a Champ Sports to getting on the sales floor there, to selling, to moving through retail into bigger volume stores, becoming an area manager for a wireless company, a director of consumer products for a sports entertainment company, ultimately a general manager and senior director opening sports stadiums and running them, and then moving at an executive level in sales and marketing to where I'm at today as VP of sales of a company called Fusion Homes. Where I've been lucky is I've had great mentors at all of these stops. Some of them have been coaches that I've observed based on their styles, and some of them it's been a combination of the style and the structure the corporation has put in place to ensure people are developed and coached. Anyways, what I thought I'd do is just share a couple theories that may help you if you're an up-and-coming manager, or even if you're a seasoned executive today who may have lost focus on developing behaviors by observing what's going on and having dedicated coaching time. So here it goes. You know, as many of you know who know me, I'm a big sports fan. I happen to be a fan of a hockey team that's won Stanley Cups 24 times, may have swept another team from the southern United States in the first round, and may be waiting to hopefully play their arch rivals in the second round, who wear black and yellow, who smell like cheese. Not important right now. But I bring it all back to sports. And if you look at pro sports coaching, let's take hockey for example, you never see a coach come in at a practice and say, we lost 4-3 last night, guys. Today we're going to spend 2 hours scoring a fifth goal. Go practice getting a goal. It's not how it happens. They break down behaviors before the game. They analyze past performance to identify where individual players can change behaviors that they know will lead to that better result that is the measurable, that is the score of the game. Take that back to business, and it's very similar to targets are set for employees, KPIs are put in place, and that's all great, but you don't coach the numbers. You measure the numbers, you set them as a measuring stick, but you spend all your time talking about behaviors that lead to that. And I learned that back in retail. You didn't go and coach employees on items per sale, as an example, and say, you got to sell 2 items every sale. Go do it. You're at 1.8. You need 2. Now, some coaches did that and they weren't successful. They may have been over the short term, but the good ones that I observed who coached me, and hopefully I shared that skill, focused on the behaviors. Hey, let's talk about product knowledge. What makes most sense when you sell a pair of shoes that's going to add value and duration for the customer? What questions are you asking to find out what else they do so you can complement that purchase? How do you ask open-ended questions to find out what the add-on is? Those were all behaviors that led to that result, and I wasn't coached on the stat, and lo and behold, the stat's raised. I tried to follow that all through my career as I progressed from, again, stockroom manager all the way to executive level in sales and marketing. The second component is coaching during the game. You know, you get people who are leaders or managers or directors or VPs and even presidents, and they seem to forget where the action happens. So if they're coaching, great. If they're coaching behaviors, great. But are they observing it during the game? And then when they're there, what are they doing? So how do you use field visits to get out on the floor and observe what your team is doing? Provide feedback, recognition, areas of improvement. i.e., you're on the sales floor, you've trained them on overcoming objections, let's say, in the sales world. or you've trained them on better understanding their online spend in marketing and figuring out what Google Analytics is telling them and where they're going and how that leads to conversion, and if the content is the issue or the pipe is the issue, i.e. where they're spending. If you're observing your marketing team doing that, how are you giving them feedback about, hey, I saw you did that campaign on Facebook and it drove 30% more people to our website, and lo and behold, the content must have been great because we closed more sales at a higher conversion rate of those people who came in. That's coaching during the game in marketing. It's an example. In sales, when you observe your team on the floor on a busy Saturday, let's say, in the industry I'm in now in real estate, do you sit after the sales with the sales team after and say, you know what, I love the way you approach that customer. When you ask them what their motivation for buying a new home was, and they shared with you that the family had grown and they needed more space for the adults to entertain, but they also needed space for the kids to play, and you complimented that by talking to them about a finished basement to providing that dedicated area to entertain, and meanwhile letting the kids run free upstairs because they wanted to stay as that tight family unit when they weren't entertaining, that was a great job. Or conversely, hey, how could you have done that differently when the customer objected to the price? How did you try and overcome that? All those things are behaviors that are happening on the sales floor that you're observing as a coach, and you're coaching during the game. Because you don't see an NHL coach come in after the first intermission, has said nothing during the game on the bench, kept their arms folded, come in an intermission and say, guys, we are down 1-0. Go get a goal. See you out there. Not the way it happens. Hey guys, terrible on our breakout. The neutral zone's getting clogged down. They're setting up one man high, two man at the middle of the ice. Here's how we're going to break through that. I need the winger to cut across and the center to be going along the boards, and defenseman, you better hit that pass. Now those are all behaviors that lead to a potential shot on net, that lead to the measurable that is the goal, and leads to the win. Coaches, I hope this is a reminder to coach during the game, coach the behaviors, don't coach the results, measure the results. They're an indicator of whether the behaviors are being done well, need to be recognized, or need to be retweaked. That's it. That's my coaching tips. Hopefully you'll like it. If you don't, I'll click it enough times that I'll get a lot of views. Let's be honest. Thanks, everybody.